And a pleasant good afternoon once again. Here we are. Today is day 15 of our Virago Warrior Woman series. My name is Dexter Springer, attached to the Arima Public Library of the Public Libraries Division of Trinidad and Tobago. And we are here today on the second to last day. I am not happy saying that. It is the second. It is the second to last day of our Virago Warrior Woman series, where we have been featuring our author of the month, Mrs. Michelle Borrell, and she is the creator and editor of the latest, as you see in my background, Warrior Woman, the Virago Warrior Woman Butterfly Edition, which was launched on the 21st of this month. That was Sunday gone. It was an awesome launch. And we have the books will actually be releasing for sale on the 25th. That would be tomorrow. Please God, you can get your own personal copy of Virago Warrior Woman, the Butterfly Edition, for only $200 as I've been saying. Your 10 purple notes, get them and run to Charon's bookstore in Trin City Mall and purchase your very own copy, as well as you can also order it online on Amazon for the lovely price of $30. You cannot go wrong. This book is a treasure. I already have my copy. It is right in front of me. Virago, the Butterfly Edition. You don't want to miss it. I have all my signatures. Well, I have to get to Shelly to get hers. All right, but we will talk about that later. So here we are today, Virago Woman. Of course, as I've been saying from the beginning, I'm going to say it again today. Many people have been asking me, what is Virago? What is Virago? Well, of course, it means a woman of great stature, strength, and courage. Therefore, in this book, we have 15 of these women that share their experiences and lessons, encouraging all who would read it to stand in the authenticity of who they are and awaken the true warrior within. All right, and today we have a Virago with us, and she is going to share some of her story with us. Ladies and gentlemen, she's an international specialist and consultant who has worked extensively across the Americas on trade, development, and strategic communications projects. She served as senior political advisor and cabinet member at the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C., USA, where she was one of the youngest female minorities in a senior international post. She has executed projects for multinational private sector interests and worked extensively on public-private partnerships. Das is also an award-winning journalist, producer, and news personality who has practiced in Trinidad and Tobago, the wider Caribbean, and internationally. She is the recipient of over a dozen journalism awards and received international acclaim for her documentary on Haiti before and after the deadly 2010 earthquake. Shelly Dass has also served as head of news and current affairs at a large multi-platform media house in Trinidad and Tobago. She is a mom, most importantly, and married to the Member of Parliament, Mr. Brian Manning. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, under the sound of my voice and the view of our faces, I present to you none other than the awesome Mrs. Shelly Dass Manning. A pleasant good afternoon to you.
I'm sure everybody's told you this, but I want to hire you to introduce me everywhere from now on.
Of course, you have me. You have me. I'll give you all my contacts. Everything you need. Trust me, I'm reachable. It is great to have you this afternoon with us, Mrs. Dass Manning.
It is a pleasure to be here. It's all a real pleasure to be here.
I'm gonna start like this. You know, people. You know, when I have the opportunity to speak like to persons like yourself, the first question I like to ask: give us one fun fact about Shelly Dass. Outside of all the work that you do, what is one fun fact, or even something that might surprise us today when you say it to us?
Let's see. I find you asking some hard questions already at the onset. I'm not sure I like that. But I think one thing would be that I'm actually very shy. That would be
Really?
something that most people don't know, or because I guess of my career choices or whatever, people would tend to think that, you're just bold and charismatic or outspoken. I'm actually very, very shy.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is surprising. So
Yes.
I asked the question before we came on, so I'll ask you again so that how does it feel to be the one being on the other side of the interview table, because you don't have the chance now to cover up the shyness. Now people like actually see the shyness.
It is a little disconcerting, but it's also
Just a little, yeah.
refreshing.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
because
good.
now I
That's
get to answer the questions. And when
yes,
we do interviews, sometimes if you have a difficult subject and they're just not answering the question, you could find a million different ways to ask a question and they just won't answer. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of the most challenging things of doing interviews. Well, now I get to be on the other side, so
On the to see how it what it feels like at least. All
yes,
right.
so it'll be fun.
Okay, so all right, so what I'll start off with is this. In terms of your achievement over the years, Shelly, largely in media and things like that, it as you know, you just said something there. It will seem to people that you're charismatic and you're outspoken because I mean, there's no boring newscast or boring broadcast with Shelly Dass in it. Shelly Dass, Shelly Dass is a name that rolls off of the tongue very
Oh,
easily. All right.
yes.
But no, really and truly, how was the journey for you in terms of you climbing from level to level? I mean, we've just heard the things that you have accomplished and you continue to accomplish. So how has that journey been, especially as a young woman? How
Mhm.
has the experience been for you in terms of your excellence over the years?
Um, well, I think that the first part of my career was unfortunately very easy.
Okay.
And I say unfortunate, and I'll explain it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll explain why after.
Mm-hmm.
When things are simple when you're younger, when you start in the business, the rules are simple
Yes.
and the math is simple. You work hard
Mm-hmm.
and you climb, and that happened for the great vast majority of my career until you start maturing, and growth is a different thing, and maturity is a different thing. It's very easy to work, and if life were just about work and one dimensional, everything would be okay. And
Right.
everything was okay. And everything for many people on the surface and on paper seems to be okay at first.
Mm-hmm.
If we
Mm-hmm.
have all these beautiful lists and we say, okay, by this age, you should graduate with this degree, you should have this much in a bank account, you should have accomplished this, this, and this. And all things being equal, if your life follows this trajectory and this path that you've set for it, then you judge yourself or other people judge you with success. And what people don't see behind the scenes are all the things that don't go according to plan.
Mm.
And when they don't go according to plan because you lack balance in your life, or things just fall apart, you realize that the facade that many people have up, and many women in particular, that they maintain, that everything is fine, everything is great, everything is the way that it's supposed to be. And then when that kind of shreds or collapses and comes down, then everybody is stunned. And I think that one of the things that we all have to accept and admit in life is that failure will come, setbacks will come, defeats will come, and that's okay. You just pick
Wow.
yourself up and you move on. And you don't have to always project this image that everything is perfect and everything is going to be perfect. We tell a lot of lies to ourselves and to other people on social
Mhm.
media about the kind of life that we live. And I think that sometimes that's because we're afraid to be vulnerable. And in my
Mhm.
chapter in the book, I think we address the question of vulnerability, which was a word that I really, really hated, but
Mm.
which I've come to realize really plays
It's
a huge
necessary.
part in real success, in who you are as a person.
But all right, so let me ask this question in the position of a person now who's just listening to what you just said. All right, but Shelly, how can I be vulnerable if I have to come on TV and stand up in front of thousands of people? I mean, I still have to hold it together. Everybody have to see a perfect smile, a perfect face.
Yeah.
I just quarrel with my wife or I just quarrel with my husband before I come on set. So how do I separate my personal life? How easy or how difficult is it, to have that balance, to manage the
Hmm.
personal life and well-being in relation to my perfect image on the camera?
Okay, well, I think the first thing that I had to address, and I think that many people have to confront, is that the concept of vulnerability. Vulnerability and being vulnerable doesn't mean you collapse in tears every 10 seconds, right?
Mm.
Vulnerability in this case means authenticity. And if you are pretending to be something that you are not, if you're pretending to be, um, you know, something that is not the core you, and you are doing things simply not to make yourself happy, but to make other people happy, to tick off little boxes on a piece of paper. That to me is inauthenticity and a lack of vulnerability. Vulnerability is coming. I learned this the hard way. This is just my journey, and I can only speak to what I've been through. Vulnerability to me meant accepting to myself that, wow, that was pretty bad, and how do I do better? And vulnerability, is not saying, okay, geez, that was pretty bad. I hope nobody noticed. Let me try to cover it up. No, okay, you did something, things fell apart, you didn't do your best, and show people that, look, this is what happens, it's okay. A lot of people go through, a lot of things that we don't share, and we don't, we're embarrassed by. And I remember one time in my very young days, Hazelwood Redmond, and I don't know if people in Trinidad would remember who she was, but
I
she was
have
one
to
of the
remember
people.
that lady. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
she was
yeah.
one of the people, two women who were there for me very early on in my career in media in Trinidad. Hazelwood Redmond and Alison Hennessy. And they were older and they were everything to me. They were just the epitome of what success
So
was.
they were like your mentors.
They were in the beginning. Remember, I was a kid. I just came up from school in the States. I really didn't know, as we would say, so and so from your elbow in Trinidad. And then
All
I
right.
was thrust into this real position and had a lot of amazing opportunities. But I remember one time being particularly tired and going to host a newscast. And I guess I didn't do a very good job because my tiredness must have shown through. And Hazelwood Redmond came up to me and she said, darling, always remember two things. No one cares what kind of day you've had because they've all had the same day. They've all had the same, whatever, crappy interactions with their bosses, falling out with their wife, husband, whatever. And they come home, and at that time, 7 o'clock news was a big deal. It was something that everybody looked at.
Yes, yes,
So they
yes.
all coming home, and two things you must remember: no matter what kind of day you've had, always be glamorous and articulate. And that was really amazing advice back then. But it taught me early on to put on such professionalism and such a mask that it continued and it carried on into my personal life and into every other part of my life. So it was very rare for people to see who I really was because I felt compelled in a job where ratings and being liked was the name of the game. Um, that, all that mattered was you being perfect and you being glamorous and articulate and you being this particular way. And if you live your life trying to project perfection all the time, you're gonna fail and you're gonna fail miserably. And that to me is where authenticity comes in. And that was a hard lesson to learn, a really hard lesson
Okay.
to learn.
So
How to
basic.
balance that.
Okay. So it's not that's different from pretending when you come on set. When I say it's like trying to fake it, and even when you come off set, it's still trying to pretend in this
Yeah.
kind of way, like it's still trying to hold up this facade. There's a difference between pretending and actually just being genuine, but
Yes.
controlling it or hiding it in a
Right.
sense.
So we all have professional sides of us. Shannon is a pilot. So
Yes.
no matter what she's going through, when she gets, in a plane, she has to switch on.
Right.
Michelle, the same thing. When she goes
Right.
on radio, that side, no matter what she's going through, has to switch on. Destra, the same thing. It has. So we
Right.
all have that professional side, and I think what happens when it all goes south is when we always try to keep this one-dimensional part of us and extend it throughout the rest of our days and the rest of our
Right.
week. So you
I
always think that
understand.
you have to be on display, as it were, 24/7.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think that's the kiss of death. There's a time, I'm a Christian, and, there's a scripture that goes, there's a time to live and there's a time for everything.
For
And I think that
everything,
there's a
yes.
time to perform, and then there is a time
To be real.
to be real and to be
Yeah.
yourself. And I
I
think
love
that
that.
when it takes a while, it takes a long time for you sometimes to master knowing when to just take a quiet moment and find yourself. But it's so necessary because if you continue just to be one thing all the time, it's gonna collapse.
All right. I love the fact that you brought that up, because I mean, so many of us would think, well, listen, but these people don't have any ordinary lives. One of the things that well, of course, we're familiar with you from CNC3, and one of the things that CNC3 did that I liked, not putting in a plug or anything, people, all right, but one of the things that I like is that there was this part where they kind of like showed the anchors and the news people came out and they met the people in the city and shake people's hand, and there was, hi, welcome, and this is the CNC3 news. It wasn't like that. It was more like, hey, look at me, Kamal, or whatever the case is. So that kind of marries what you're saying there, that there was a time, okay, we could switch off and be normal human beings when we go outside, but on set, this is where wood kicks in. So
Yeah.
it's good to hear that from someone like yourself who has been in this for years. And even mentioning that, what I want to ask Shelly is, in terms of the changes that have taken place um, over the years, right? I mean, some very obvious. What effect has that had on you being in the business from as far as late 90s into now? And over, you would have seen a transformation, you would have seen a revolution taking place in terms of media and the way things are done. What effect did it have on you being in the business for the length of time that you have been in?
Um, I think to see the progression in the media landscape was an amazing thing. When I first started, I just remember, journalism and being on television for
Mhm.
news, that was something that was so up there, and that was it, and that was the be all and end all. And I think those days have changed
Mhm.
totally. The truth is, well, I'm a consultant now, and I actually work, I'm doing more projects with One Caribbean Media and TV6. We started part of the core team that started CNC3, and now working with One Caribbean Media too. And
Right.
it's the fluidity that I think is a beautiful thing. Once you're professional, you could work in any media house, if you so desire. But the
Right.
beautiful thing about it now is that, it's bad to say it, but I don't really get my news anymore from 7 o'clock, right? I get my
Mhm.
news here on this. And you
Right.
guys get your news there too. And I think
Yes.
the
Yeah.
accessibility, watching this transition in terms of accessibility, in terms of putting out news, in terms of reading news and getting information, I think that it is the most amazing thing to see.
Mhm.
In one lifetime, we've gone from having only landlines to cell phones to
Yes.
now being able to do everything, to edit, to shoot, to film, to become a citizen journalist on your phone.
Mhm.
That is incredible. Information and communications has changed so much that I think it's making it accessible for everyone. And this is an exciting time to be alive. There's a pro and a con to that, of course. The con
Right.
being it's a lot of misinformation that is rapidly spread
Yes. Yes.
online. There is good and bad to everything, and those are some of the things that I think that it's really important for us now to be responsible with with the speed at which information is relayed online and on social
Mhm.
media. It's
Mhm.
really, really responsible for us now to be more. It, it's it's compulsory almost to be more responsible with the information that we have put and the information that we put out there.
Do you think that given even what you just spoke about, do you think that at some point in time all this accessibility might interfere with a reporter's career, in terms of, you may not have the need for 7 o'clock news anymore or anything like that? Do you foresee that something like that could actually take place in the media world?
Um, To be really blunt, yes, that is the way that we are going. I think that we will always have a need for a clearinghouse and a time or a place where we get credible information. But to say that the 7 o'clock newscast format is going to stay, or the 6 a.m. newscast format is going to
Mm-hmm.
stay, nah, I don't think so. I think the
Wow.
fact that I could just get a text alert at 1 o'clock in the morning that some major development has happened, and I don't have to wait until the end of the day to read about it. That is everything. And I think that's, yes, it's going to affect jobs and livelihoods, but I also think that it provides opportunities
Yes.
now for people to do more. It's
Mm.
a scary thing, huh? If all you
It
know how
could
to
be.
do is to shoot and you can't edit, um, yeah, it's gonna be a little terrifying. If
Okay.
I, were in that position, what I'd quickly try to do is become the absolute best that I can be at what my core skill is, and then also try to expand into more and different things. I think putting all your eggs in one basket is a dangerous way to go in this day and age.
So then, on that note, Shelly, what advice would you actively give someone who might be looking on right now and aspiring towards a career in media? Somebody who, some young lady who would have been watching you from ever since and say, "I want to be like Shelly Das when I grow up." You know, what advice you would want to give to anybody who would want to get into media as a full-time life career?
Well, first of all, you have to love what you're doing. You really have to love this business
Yes.
because it's hard. And it's not just the glamorous side of it. People don't see the mud on your shoes. They
Hmm.
only see the pretty lipstick you're wearing or the fact that you're not wearing a color that they like or something like that. They don't see the hard work that really goes into it. And I see a lot of these reporters taking a lot of flack online sometimes for some of the clothes that they're wearing on an assignment or how what they did, and they don't understand that these guys are literally working hard all day,
Oh,
chasing down
yeah.
stories and putting up with people who hate them or just don't have time for them, impatient, rude people sometimes, great stories, emotional stories other times. So they're working all day, and you have to really love what you do it if you're going to go down this path and this career path. But the other thing I would say is, there's only one you. Don't try to be anybody else. you
Right.
know there's only one you, and that would be your superpower. Hone what you have. You have a quirky sense of humor, hey, maybe it'll work in your writing style.
Right.
you
Right.
know there's only one you, and be authentically you. If you live trying to be a Barbara Walters or a Disha or a Shelly or a Ria or whoever else,
Mhm.
no, they can be the best versions of themselves, but you be
Selves,
the best
yes.
version of you. God gave you something that makes you uniquely you. So do you. I can't be Destra. I can't be Shannon. Shannon can't do what I do. I can't,
Yeah.
Michelle can't
Yeah.
do what you do.
Mhm.
God, I believe, whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in, I believe that everybody is created unique with a
Mhm.
unique skill set. Put that to work. Don't try to copy somebody else if, you were made to do something great. What if you miss that greatness that you were called to do because you were so busy trying to be somebody else?
I think it sounds like if there's something you have written down inside this book, Shelly. I
Actually,
just
no, I didn't really touch on much to do with that on my chapter at all. I think that, um, when Michelle contacted me about this project and
Mhm.
told me a little bit about what it was, the thing that I realized united everyone in telling their stories was that there's always another side to the story, and there's always another side to us. And people believe that they know you based on the stories that have been told about you. And sometimes you don't get the opportunity to tell the story of yourself.
Mm.
And I think that that's important because I think that it's an equalizing factor. I think a lot of us go through things in life and we feel so isolated and so alone because we don't think
Yeah.
that anybody else has gone through this. I realized that some of the women in the series, they mentioned going through a divorce, and it's a heartbreaking thing. I went through a divorce too.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I'm still very good friends with my ex, and we're a
All
large
right.
blended family now.
That's nice. Good.
But when things are happening, you feel so isolated and you feel so alone, and all you hear is the gossip that goes on, and who said this, and I hear this about her, and I hear that about her. And in all these stories, you hear these women in this book, saying what it was to go through what they went through, sometimes alone, and coming up with a system that worked for them. And then
Yeah.
realizing, hey, if this system worked for me, if I can just prevent one person from feeling that isolated or that alone, then let me tell my story. And I think that that means everything. Far too many times, and I think the nature of life is sometimes to be competitive, right? As a human species, we love being
Mhm.
competitive,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
we
Yes.
all love competing and this and that. But sometimes when you competition is one thing, but you know, it's it's not everything. It's one thing,
Right.
but it's not everything. And I think sometimes we have to let down our guard and say, "You're not alone. I went through
Mhm.
this too, and I made it. I survived, and I think you can too. I may not have all the answers, but and this person may not have all the answers, and that person, but maybe together, if we tell our stories, you can understand that you can survive this. It's not the end of the world. When your world crushes and collapses around you, it's not the end. You survive
That's
and you
awesome.
live to tell a story.
People, get this book. Get it. Shelly stories in here. Probably in a way I've never seen or heard before. Shelly, firstly, have you ever written like of this nature before? To put your story out there like this. Have you ever had to do this before?
No, no, I haven't. But I decided to do it because, like many of the other women in this book, we've been on the receiving end of stories being told about us,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it's really important sometimes to tell your own story and not let people tell it for you. I like some of the chapters and how they're named. I think Anya's is who she feels she is,
Who
or
she
something
feels
like
she
that.
is. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and Destra with the definition of bitchism
yeah.
and all of the
Which
other
is
things, because
yeah.
these are the things that were told to us. These are the things that people say to you, and sometimes you're tempted to take the high road. As Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. And that's great. And that's great if you can really maintain your composure to do that all the time. But I
Mm,
think sometimes there comes a time when you have to tell your own story.
yes.
And this was the first time I did anything like this. And it was hard. And I'm sure it was hard for everybody else who
I
had.
was about I was about to ask what was the most challenging thing about writing this piece of work? What was the most challenging thing or the most memorable thing if you want to put it that way?
Being vulnerable. That was the hardest thing.
Mm,
When you start telling your story or telling your story through the eyes of other people and sharing some of what you went through, you kind of feel like, ooh, this is not comfortable at all.
mm, mm.
Like you feel exposed, you feel naked, you feel like
Wow.
very, very vulnerable. And it's hard. That's the hard part. But I think that that's also the powerful part. Um, it tears down these barriers between us. Um, that I think sometimes do more harm than good. And I think telling your story and realizing that you are more resilient. The name of my chapter is resilience, right? And
Right. Right.
realizing that you are resilient and realizing that you're stronger than you think you are
Mm,
was more important to me than people realizing that your life wasn't perfect.
mm, mm. So if you were to write another book, just authored by Shelly Das, an entire publication, what do you think that the name of that one might be called?
Ah. I think I would continue to write about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I would, because I think we all need a reminder that
Yeah.
we can do more than we think we're capable of.
Yes.
Um, you know, sometimes you're pushed to breaking point. Sometimes it's so hard and you're not sure that you can take that next step, but you actually can.
Right.
In the book, I said, during one of the most difficult times in my life, someone once said to me that you already have within you everything that is required to do what you have to do in front of you. And I don't know that that's always true, but I do know that the things that have happened to me have not crushed me. They've made me
Right.
stronger. They've made me
Yes.
embrace my vulnerabilities,
Yes.
and they've made me humble. I
Yes.
think you know, they've made me more resilient, more compassionate. When we
Mm-hmm.
realize that, okay, you're not perfect. You went through hell and back. You survived.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do with all this now? You tell your own story.
This is awesome. So, would you say that through writing this book as well, with having to be able to being able to be vulnerable and everything, would you say that it has helped even to probably heal some things that you didn't know you needed healing from, or was it therapeutic while writing and letting things out? Did it help to release and do something in terms of healing your mindset or whatever the case might be? You
I
know?
think, for me, and this is again just me, not everybody has a different path to
Mhm.
healing. I think for me, I heal and I learn to heal every day. It's a continuous process.
Nice.
Sometimes people may be triggered by the most random things that happen.
Mm.
And I've watched, some of my girlfriends go through, incredible pain and difficulty and think that they're completely fine. And then the most random thing would just trigger them and set them off.
Yes.
I think that writing, and whether it's journaling or writing a chapter in a book like this, I think sometimes you will be triggered and reminded of some really, really bad things that happen or unfair things that happen. And
Mm.
some, you know, and you have no answers for them. But you just realize you have to have the peace enough to understand that this happened, this was wrong, this was unfair, this was, crushing, but it didn't crush me. It didn't
Yes.
actually crush you. And I think when you were triggered, you have to also remind yourself that you survived. You
Yeah.
survived whatever you went through, you survived. And I think that was what's more important to me. Because when you go down memory lane is a dangerous thing, huh?
Yes.
And when you go down memory lane, you could get really, really tangled up there, and you could get, a little trippy over some turns in the road and everything that happened, and you could get bitter, you could get angry, or you could choose to turn your mind towards the fact that, hey, we got out of this, we survived, we good, everything is
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
and you learn from that.
Well, Shelley, we are also grateful to hear you speak on this front and to hear somebody like yourself, being able to tell us how to be real and be professional and be authentic, because that's one of the themes that has been coming throughout these last 15 days. I've been speaking to each woman, and there is a chorus about being real and being vulnerable, and to even see you come today, somebody that we see all the time, always having it all together, and yet still speaking about being vulnerable. I know that the things that you have said would have encouraged a lot of people today. I see Leanne, my co-worker, is on in the comments, and she's saying, keep inspiring ladies. So beautiful. All right. Arima Public Library saying wonderful and real. Another person is saying wonderful and real advice. That's Janelle Fields, So, I mean, you have touched lives today. I'm certain of it. And we want to thank you so much. And even speaking of touching lives, just to hear from you, if you would want to acknowledge any that one person or group of people or family member who have been with you through it all, through thick and thin, from beginning till now. They know Shelly when Shelly start, and they know Shelly now, and all the glitz and glamour, and they've been with you through it all. Who you would want to say thanks to in that?
Honestly, my family, my core family, my mom and my dad and my brothers, they have watched me rise and fall and rise again. And I think, I count myself so, so, so lucky and so blessed to have them. And I think the one thing that's just the one takeaway that people need to remember is whenever you're going through anything hard or rough, don't isolate yourself. There are people out
Ah,
there
yes.
that love you, that support you. Sometimes they, may not say the right things all the time or do the right things, but the heart is there. You are never as alone as you think.
Wow.
And that is just so important for me, just to say, because I know what it was like being on the other side of that. And
Yeah.
I would never want anyone to feel, or to reach the point where they think that they're alone. And far too many people go through stuff and they go through it alone. But I also want to acknowledge you for telling these stories and helping to tell these stories of so many
Oh,
people.
yes.
And Michelle Burrell did something that was remarkable to me, which was to corral the schedules of 15 different women who
Mm-hmm.
have very demanding schedules and try to get this book
Yes.
in record time.
Yes.
I've never seen this one before, so I have to
Cool.
really recognize Michelle for that. That what she
Mm.
pulled off here was amazing, and it's for a good cause. So I have to acknowledge her.
I second that motion. All who agree say aye.
I,
All right. So again, Shelly, we want to thank you so much. We want to thank everybody who has listened. Shelly, I could sit down here and we could talk for the next half an hour. Because I mean, there's not many times that you get to see people on the lighter side, and just talking about
yeah,
their life experiences and how they've come through it, how they have navigated through the rough seas. And you've done that with such grace and elegance this evening. And so I want to thank you on behalf of everyone who is watching, on behalf of Arima Public Library, and even on behalf of Michelle, for just, as you said, your schedules are not the easiest. Right? So the fact that you have the time to sit with us just for a few minutes to talk with us, we are grateful. So again, we thank you. People, get yourself your personal copy of Virago Warrior Woman, the Butterfly Edition. We have Shelly's story is in there. Right? That was a little tongue twister. All right,
Yeah.
so get the book and see it for yourself. We also have the book will also be launching in New York on the 9th of December, as well as in Miami on the 14th of December. And we also have the Barbados edition, aka the Phoenix edition, will be coming out as well. So you all can stay tuned to Virago Global on Instagram and Facebook. Look out for these things. Stay tuned to Michelle Borrell _TT on Instagram as well. You could follow her closely. And so we have one more day. Tomorrow, please God. Tomorrow is the day it all drops. We're going to have the book being released for sale. And we have one more day, the season finale in our Virago Warrior Woman series. We want to thank each and every Virago woman that was on this series for these last 15 days. It has been tremendous, especially for myself, being able to interact with you all. And it has changed my life tremendously. I've made connections. You all have poured out some nuggets that will change my mindset, help me to think differently. And listen to my brothers, friends, men, you could buy this too. It's not a female book alone, right? It's stories of women, but as you know, Penelope Spencer would have said, it would help you to understand how women think and to hear the real stories and not what the people saying in social media. And all I hear about Shelly, all I hear about Anya, no. Read it for yourself and see what actually took place. So,
Yeah.
people, this brings us to the end. Shelly, again, I want to thank you for your time with us and
Thank
for your
you.
your realness and everything that you would have poured out today. We thank you so much. Of course, I look forward to reading your chapter in the book. All right. And again, I say thank you for all who are watching with us. Remember, keep your devices charged. Tomorrow, please God, we have the final session. Stay tuned for that. I will see you tomorrow. Please God, remember to stay safe and stay with your mask on.
Yes.
See you tomorrow. Please God. Shelly, any quick final words before we slip out?
No, just to everyone else, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your courage.
All right. There you have it, people. See you tomorrow. Please God. Take good care.
Bye.